Good day, everyone. Sit back and relax while my group members and I tell you how parental involvement affects student learning. Hello, I am Akash Beharry, and almost every parent's day at my school, I would see 28 mothers and only 2 fathers. I also found that the higher performing students would have more interested parents. Let us now begin the psychology of parental involvement by looking at this clinical and developmental psychologist Diana Baumrind. Through Mrs. Baumrind's work, we are able to relate to one or more of these styles. For example, the parents who do show up at Parents' Day are definitely not the uninvolved parents. So what does a good parent-child relationship have to do with student learning? The parent-child relationship sets the stage for positive attitudes towards their peers and themselves, which fosters belonging and psychological well-being. The psychological well-being of all individuals is directly related to their success in relationships and work inside and outside of the classroom. Let us now look at the 4 parenting styles which provide this support system. The authoritarian parent believes that children should be seen but not heard. The authoritative parent puts a lot of effort into creating and maintaining a positive relationship with their child. The permissive sets rules but rarely ever enforces them. And the uninvolved parent barely asks the child about homework or may not even know where the child is at all. Of paramount importance is providing the child with basal needs of food, clothing, shelter, physical, emotional, and security needs. This brings us to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It is important to note that all needs should be reasonably satisfied in order for the desire for personal growth to be inculcated. Internationally, research in parental involvement and the roles parents play in their children's development has led to the legislations which support involvement in several countries, including the United States, England, and New Zealand, to name a few. A recent study by Professor Rupnarain, who is well published in this field, found that the number of mothers involved in play storytelling and reading with their children far outweighed that of fathers in 5 different Caribbean nations. He also found that in these situations, early childhood literacy skills were significantly impacted. Karabayeva and Boga 2014 states that these days more parents are becoming less engaged in the educational process of their children, despite the fact that most parents want to be involved. There are lots of barriers for parental involvement. Here at home in Trinidad and Tobago, our national parenting policy acknowledges some of the challenges faced by adults and parents in reaching out to students, teachers, and even their schools. However, the policy advises of the negative impact on the child's development. Some of the issues faced by parents include parental conflict, drug abuse, poor parental mental health, financial instability, and other social stresses. According to Gekas and Schwab, 1986, seen here, we can deduce that children's sense of worth, their ability to perform effectively, and their sense of pride in themselves depend heavily on their own thoughts about having their parents involved in some way rather than their parents' opinions about the quality of their own involvement in their children's education.
My name is Tricia Harripaul, and I became interested in how parental involvement affects student learning when I heard how some of my colleagues in education spoke with parents. Some teachers are open and respectful towards parents, while others are hostile. They speak to parents and not with them. I wondered how this affects parental involvement and by extension student learning. Firstly, let's explore little D discourse, how parents communicate with their children and how parents communicate with teachers. And for the purposes of this presentation, teachers really means all school staff. The National Parental Policy of Trinidad and Tobago identified several areas of concern pertaining to national parenting practices. The first concern was insufficient and ineffective communication within some families. They went on to say that continued consistent parental support results in higher academic performance, fewer behavioral problems, enhanced mental health, greater self-esteem, and better social skills. The researcher Jeans stated that subtle ways that parents become involved, including parent-child communication, is more important than overt strategies such as school involvement and homework help. This is good news for parents of teenagers. As they get older, their parents may not be able to help them with their advanced calculus homework, but they can always engage their children in a conversation about their day at school. So how can a parent communicate with their child? Talk meaningfully with your child. Turn off the TV and put down your cell phone when your child wants to talk. Don't talk to them when you're angry. What about parent-teacher communication? Hill, Witherspoon, and Batts identify two main ways that we communicate with parents. Problem communication is when we call parents to tell them that their child got into a fight, is failing math, or some other negative communication. Proactive communication is when teachers tell parents that their child is on the honor roll or something positive. As educators, are we guilty of using mainly the first type of communication? Do parents cringe when they see the school's number on their caller ID? The researchers, Sachs et al., found that when teachers and parents hold different views about their relationship, they will be less likely to communicate, which may impede children's functioning. Ms. St. Rose identified three ways that humans communicate: written, oral, and a very important but often overlooked visual. As teachers, we need to consider that parents process our every move when we are relaying a message to them. As teachers, there are many opportunities to communicate with parents: parents' days, PTA meetings, etc. Some schools have open door policies, others require an appointment. The internet has opened up additional avenues for communication. These include school website and social media. As my colleague Akash mentioned before, we have to target fathers and get them more involved. In the area of big D discourse, we look at the Parent-Teacher Association. PTAs create a village that help to strengthen families. They link families by hosting fun events, raise money for schools, and advocate for children. In 1987, Alice Burney founded the National Congress of Mothers in the USA, which later became the first PTA. Now, throughout the world, in preschools, primary schools, and secondary schools, there are PTAs, which advocate to bring parents and teachers together. Finally, this is Trinidad and Tobago's National PTA. Both its objective and motto speak about bringing parents and teachers together.
Hello, good day. Anecia Hoppie here to discuss the sociological perspective of parental involvement. Sociology, as it relates to parental involvement, encompasses the society, social relationships, and interaction, as well as the behavior of collective groups of human beings. In education, school can be seen as a social institution which aims to develop socially healthy individuals through the meshing of stakeholders. One such stakeholder is the parent. Parental involvement in student learning takes a micro-sociological focus and looks at smaller groups' patterns and trends, typically at the community level and in the context of everyday lives and experiences of people. It explores the parameter of social relationships like that of a parent and child, and examines the way in which these interactions contribute to the larger patterns or systems in our society. Jean Piaget was known as a constructivist and interactionist who proposed his theory of social cognitive development in children, which emphasized the constructive role of experience with peers and family members. The basic assumption of his theory was that children are active learners with a constant drive to match their internal and external constructions. There are many other theorists which support parental involvement through the theories of social learning and development. Parents' regular participation in their children's learning process contributes to developing student abilities, boosting academic self-confidence. Lynch et al. 2006 stated that it improves relationship between parents and teachers. Fewer behavioral issues occur, and there is a lesser likelihood for students to drop out of school. The 2019 Global Competitive Report ranks countries such as Finland, Switzerland, Singapore, and Canada, to name a few, at the top of worldwide educational systems. Much emphasis in these countries is placed on health, primary education, and higher education and training. In this era of rapid global economic and social change, these countries' educational systems should be carefully examined to determine if their strategies can be borrowed and or tweaked to suit our local education system. The concept of partnership in education in Singapore is of great significance. Although it is a relatively novice trend, the focus is to create better total learning environments for Singapore students and encourage parents to be fully involved in their children's education due to the fact that they are seen as major stakeholders in their education system. Regionally, Caribbean policymakers such as CARICOM promote citizen advancement socially, culturally, and educationally. The 2018 Jamaican Labour Force Survey revealed that socio-economic status of parents affected their students' learning. In Barbados, however, the implementation of a child-friendly school framework resulted in higher academic achievements regardless of socio-economic status or parents' educational level, and more positive attitudes of students. Regional scholars note that engaged parent partners yield higher levels of student achievement. Locally, the National Parenting Policy, which exists under the umbrella of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, adopts a needs-driven stance in supporting parents in their role that contributes to the positive development of children. Another significant local organization that aligns itself with parental involvement in children's learning is the National Parent Teachers Association, which aims to bring into close relationship homes, schools, parents, and teachers.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Javid Bishop, and every day at my school I deal with a mixture of different personalities among my various students. This leads me to wonder to what extent does parental involvement have on the philosophical development of the child. Firstly, what is philosophy? Philosophy is a study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence. Especially when considered as an academic discipline, it provides theories or attitudes that acts as a guiding principle for behavior. Philosophy has four branches. These include metaphysics, epistemology, axiology, and logic. There are various schools of philosophy or philosophical concepts that seek to answer the questions posed over these four branches of philosophy. At the metaphysical level, there are four broad philosophical schools of thought that apply to education today. Parenting style can affect everything from how much your child weighs to how they feel about themselves. Parental involvement has a direct impact on how children construct their reality. Children growing up in households where high values placed on academic excellence will be more likely to succeed than those whose parents do not value educational qualifications as much. But more importantly, according to an article written by V. Louis Erickson, children have a moral claim on members of both the family and society to be cared for and guided toward becoming what they might become. He argues that parents and teachers must look at their own moral and ego conceptions of maleness and femaleness and rethink those conceptions that might limit human growth. He goes on to state that a girl cognitively perceiving herself as a female will want to do things that her mother does, and when she does these tasks with her mother, it acts as a reward for her. Because most adults are conventional in their conception of their roles, parents tend to perpetuate these sexual dichotomies in their interactions with their children. In a report produced in 1973 by Gian Humphrey Block, she also suggests that fathers are more crucial than has been supposed in channeling the sex typing of both male and female children. In an article published by the Guardian newspaper on Saturday 16, 2011, entitled Parents Must Take Responsibility, They stated, parents are usually the initiators of their children's socialization and aptitudes, the tenets of which are molded from their upbringing. If we as a nation desire children who best represent their fullest potential, then the adults in their lives must follow parenting principles designed to nurture our children to develop the qualities which will result in a confident, responsible, and caring human being. Quoted in the article are a few examples of bad parenting occurring in Trinidad and Tobago, some of which include a granny pushing an 8-year-old through a window space on Carnival Tuesday to steal, and mothers knowing and condoning their teenage daughters' sexual activities, especially with taxi or maxi men, for money in which they share. The article then went on to state that these kinds of parenting guides give children mixed signals and confuse them and also cause them to rebel. The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has therefore enforced a national parenting policy which gives a plan for adopting a needs-driven approach in the support of parenting rules that contribute to the positive development of children.
Good day all, my name is Riaz Hosein and my focus is on HFLE as it relates to parental involvement with student learning in mind. We chose this topic because we all thought that parental involvement has a major part to play with student learning. In my experience at school, I found that there is a direct relationship between student attitude and academic performance, with parents who are actively involved and show interest in their children's education having better results as compared to those parents who are not involved. I can imagine that this involvement also extends to home life as well. Looking at the pie chart with data collected from a large school district in the US, we can see that on average students spend the majority of their time at home, with schools accounting for only 14%. Parental involvement in this regard has some serious implications to consider. According to the American Academy of Children and Adolescent Psychiatry in 2017, every day children arrive home from school to an empty house. Every week, parents make decisions to leave children home alone while they go to work, run errands, or for social engagement. It is estimated over 40% of children are left home at some time. Children that are left unsupervised at home may be at increased risk for accidents and injuries, for social and behavioral problems, and for academic achievement and school adjustment problems. HFLE is designed to forestall this social influence by bringing to children the proper environmental stimulus to help them to build the life skills they need to become resilient to the negative influences. Through HFLE participation, children can be helped to develop critical thinking skills, thus enabling them to discern positive from negative behaviors and to clarify their own values and actions. According to Lacona et al., parental involvement therefore can be viewed as a crucial characteristic of effective character education, due to the fact that it is one of the three pillars of character education, namely the family, the school, and the community. Brunner et al. Shed some light on the role of the family as context in the development of the child's intellectual, social, psychological, and moral development. According to this theory, the family is the primary context in which children develop, with other settings being the school and community, all of which influence each other reciprocally. Locally, the need for HFLE is aptly summarized in the Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago's National Policy on Health and Family Life Education. Regionally, all CARICOM member states has adopted the HFLE syllabus for implementation in their respective ministries. In August 2018, the Ministry of Education in Jamaica hosted a session for parents highlighting the importance of parental involvement. These are some global examples where value is placed on parental involvement in the education system. The 2006 Parental Involvement Act, Scotland, the 2013 Smarter Schools National Partnership Family School Partnership, Australia, and the 2013 Family Learning Works, England.